Hi, everyone, and welcome to Me, You, and Who. On today's episode, we are talking to some amazing women who became mamas through egg donation. And y'all, you are going to have to grab your tissues because this episode had me going. I am so grateful to these beautiful mamas as they shared their journey of what it was like to begin the process of growing their families in this way and the many ups and downs and what it has been like since as mamas to little bitty babies and elementary school age kiddos. So there is a lot of love, laughter, and tears. And I am just so excited for you to listen to these sweet mamas. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. It's a party this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys, I am so grateful for you just giving your time to this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we get to talk about just, our families were created here. So thanks for giving your time. Why don't you all go around and say your name so that our listeners know which voices go with who? Hillary, you can go first since you're at the top of my screen.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hillary Redwine.
Yeah.
I'm Rachel Webster.
I'm Jennifer Dunn.
I'm Carrie Collier-Brown.
Yay! And you are our egg donor mamas, and we are so grateful for just you guys wanting to tell your story. But before we get into just the fun of where you are now, I want to know just from each of you what led you guys to egg donation as the way that you were going to create your families.
I'll go first. I essentially exceeded all of my infertility avenues at that point. So I think I did 4 IUIs, 5 IVFs after 5 different doctors, hearing different things. I finally thought, you know what? I do have low egg reserve. It finally clicked in one day, I guess. And so, our doctor said this is what we need to do after many years of saying it. My husband and I finally just sat down and said, okay, this is what we need to do. And that was it. So that's what led us to it, is just trying and exceeding everything else for so many years, for 7 years. So yeah, we finally got to that point where we were ready and did it.
And did
I
it?
say ours was very similar. I was diagnosed when I was 31 with premature ovarian failure or low reserve, whatever.
All of those really nice words that they used to categorize
really,
something like that.
Great to hear, at only 31. So we were in Washington, D.C., and were referred to GW Hospital has an RE practice, and went there and did 4 rounds with my eggs. Never got more than 1 or 2 embryos. And on the 4th try, it was successful, and we had a daughter. Moved back to Austin, and when she was 2, I think, sort of got back up ready to dive back in and try again and again. And it took a lot. I mean, it was nice to have those 2 years off to not worry about any of this. And it's just joy having a baby. So we went back in, and it was just a terrible failure. Tried 3 more times, and same thing. Just really, that was the only way to, have a genetic sibling for our daughter. And so we did an IVF round with donor eggs and got twins.
Yeah. Fellow twin mama. Woo woo. And then what's so fun is that Carrie, you and Hillary have the same donor.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
Yes.
sweet.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so our twins, we have boy-girl twins who are 8, are genetic half siblings with Hillary's daughter.
Love that.
Who just turned 9.
Yes. Yes, she did. She turned 9 on Monday. Yes.
Aw, happy birthday.
Oh, 9 going on like 16.
I'm
You
not
don't
one
know
of
that
those.
one.
But I have to say one of the coolest things about this is obviously beginning to know Carrie and her family, but her daughter Willow, who is not biologically related to Corinne. Corinne adores her, idolizes her. I mean, she loves Zoe and Cooper too, but she's just like, I'm older like Willow. She idolizes
Yeah.
her. So sweet.
All.
Yes, and Willow is so sweet, so kind to her. Yeah, we've been together.
Willow strikes me as a classic oldest child. She's just got all the
Totally.
little ducklings. Yes.
Yep. It's just one more to the pack.
There you go.
She thinks on that
Absolutely.
roll.
Hillary, I know
So-
we've talked about it before, but yeah, just for those who maybe haven't listened to, y'all's special episode, and then, Hillary, I know you've done some other stuff for us, but yeah, what led you to egg donation?
So when my husband and I started, when we knew we were ready to start trying to have a family, we knew we were gonna probably have some issues because I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was 27, and I was fortunate in that it was caught early, so I was stage 1, but I still had to have one ovary removed and then part of the other one to make sure that there wasn't cancer in the other ovary. So I have like a tiny piece of one ovary, plus I had FIVO, so we knew that trying to conceive was going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And once I was 2 years past treatment, we decided, we were ready. I was 30 at the time, and my OBGYN ran some tests because he, kind of figured that there might be some issues. Right away, referred us to a fertility specialist. And so, like, Rachel and Carrie, over the course of several years, we were on, I called it infertility roller coaster, just the ups and downs of trying IUI, IVF. I was in a little bit of a different situation because of the hormones. My oncologist had to approve any kind of treatment before I did it.
Oh, sure.
And he wouldn't let me do multiple rounds of IVF. So we kind of knew pretty quickly that egg donation was going to be the way that we needed to go.
Yeah. Right, Jennifer.
Well, I met my husband later in life, so
Yeah.
we already had a check mark against us, I guess, going in. When we decided to have a baby, we tried naturally, nothing worked. So after about a year, I headed out to see a fertility specialist. Tried a few 2 rounds of IUI, and then as we were gonna go into IVF, my doctor told me I had low egg reserve. And he said that it would be possible to get some eggs, but it would probably take many rounds of IVF. And I
Sure.
just wanted a family. I didn't care. So I just asked them about egg donation. I didn't want to bother trying with my eggs.
Yeah.
I didn't want to waste time. So to me, genetics doesn't make you a family. Like the love and the wanting of a baby does. So it didn't even cross my mind. A lot of people in my circle were kind of freaked out about why would you not even try? Because I just wanted a family. That's why, and I didn't want to waste another year or 2 of my time.
Sure.
I started looking before kind of talking to my fertility doctor, and Egg Donor Solutions popped up, because I kind of knew where I was going, and I picked my donor before actually talking to them about it. So
That's
when I went
hilarious. You
So
came
when I
in
went in-
prepared.
so when I saw my IVF coordinator, she sat down, she's very okay, so this is what's going to have to happen. And I was like, listen, I just want a bleeping baby. So what do we do? Here we go. You said Egg Donor Solutions you're tied with. Here's her number. See if she's available. And we became good friends after. But she was just I've never met a mother who's because they go in really with white gloves, and I'm like, who cares? It's genetics. Just bring it on. And
I
I have
love
2
it.
beautiful babies.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's such a great way to put that. I mean, I know ultimately, Hillary, I think it was your OB that told you, hey, like, is it genetics or do you just want to be a mom? And, just that kind of thing. And that I feel like that's definitely a very common fear that a lot of intended parents have is how am I going to love this baby? If that kind of thing. How did you guys all navigate kind of some of those fears?
Well, personally, like this is, when you say, well, like, when people would ask me, why would I even want to consider this? It's because I didn't want to go into it wanting a little me.
Personally. I totally understand that. Because I have my older daughter is genetically related to me, and then the twins are not genetically related to me. It's, I wondered if, if that would make a difference, if it would be different. And now, Willow is 13, the Zoe and Cooper are 8.5, and it's not like I forget that, I'm not genetically related to the twins. They're just my children. But I do think, for me, it was really, getting my head around, this was the process we were going to have to go through to complete our family. I really had to grieve what I thought the path was going to be. And, part of that might have been a little bit easier for me because I, did have, already had a baby that was genetically related to me, and she is a mini me, and I wish she was a little less like me. But I think it's anytime that you sort of have a vision in your head of what I'm going to get married and I'm going to have a baby and it's going to be a little bit me, a little bit my husband, and for me, I really had to grieve the loss of that genetic connection. But one thing that I've realized, I think the big thing I've realized is that it really doesn't matter that who your children are; they come pre-programmed for the most part. And the family in which they're raised in, and their environment influences kind of who they become. And we grew these babies, all their skin, their blood, all of that, we grew and nurtured, and there's no difference in my experience in mothering or parenting the children that I don't have a genetic relation to versus the one that I do. But there was, I really had to sort of grieve that the way that we made our family was different than how I thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. I think we all come into just, our path growing, whether it's, marriage or partnership or, and we have that vision. And it's just like you said, Carrie, you were going to go down one path and then you had to divert one way and now you're diverting another way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it's those high highs and low lows with the roller coaster, and then it's grieving all of those different things.
Yeah. Jennifer, I wish, more people who find themselves in the position, that I was in and that we were in, could get there as fast as you get. Like, I wish someone had talked to me like that, because it would have saved me so much heartache and money and.
But I'm the type of person, if I found like a kitten on the side of the road, it's my cat. Like, if I love, like, honestly, it does no, like, it becomes like mine and I love it. So like, I grieved more the thought of not having a family.
Yeah.
So the thought of not having a family, and I'm Canadian, so I moved to the US in 2014. Egg donation's not allowed in Canada. No, it's not. I'm not too sure of the basics because I never really looked into it. But had I not moved, and had I stayed there, I would not have my family. So like, that would be the thought of not having my kids. I don't care how I would have gotten there. I mean, if egg donation hadn't have worked out, I would have tried fostering or adopting, or I would have, like, gone to every firehouse. Left my name,
every like NICU here.
And the kid, both my children were born really early. So I had 2 babies in the NICU. And you see a lot of things, and that really cemented that genetics does not make you a parent.
Well, I think you said it best with it was bigger of not the possibility of not having a
Right.
family. So, what kind of resources, as just all of you were going, navigating just that next steps and, the realization that your path is diverting, what sort of resources were provided for you as you were going through that? Not until I got to Egg Donor Solutions, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so passionate now about educating, intended parents, because it's important not just for intended parents when they're going through it. It has a direct impact on the tiny humans you are going to be raising and their entire future. So, and we're lucky there's way more resources now than there were available 10 years ago when I was going through this.
Yeah.
But there weren't many. And it wasn't until I got to Egg Donor Solutions that somebody really like laid it out for me. I mean, my fertility doctor was like he tried to be sensitive about it. He was like, you're gonna need an egg donor. And I had no idea. I mean, like sort of had an idea what he was talking about, like the logistics of it. I didn't have a clue. So I asked him to explain it. And he just pulls out this book of donors and starts flipping through it. And so you would go through a book like this, or you would go through an online database and you would find you would choose a donor. And it was really overwhelming. It wasn't until I got to Egg Donor Solutions that there was really somebody like educating, walking us through it. And I feel really lucky that we ended up at Egg Donor Solutions, because one of the things that was really important to me was being able to meet our donor in person and choosing someone that was going to be open to having contact down the line for a whole host of reasons, updated medical information for any future children if they had questions or wanted to meet her at some point. At the time, there were, and there's still, not all agencies are willing to do that, but I think there's more now. At the time, it really wasn't very common to go the known donor route. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, and that kind of opens, the door to the other question I have was, you're okay, you've just been told now you have to go, okay, this is it. If you want to move on with if you want to move forward with growing your family, egg donation is it. And now you don't have a ton of education at your fingertips, but you're being told here's a binder of people that you can just choose from. And then you start hearing words like fresh and frozen and anonymous and just all of those kinds of things. How did you decide that, okay, I want to go with the agency, I want to do this route versus maybe the frozen egg bank route or things like that?
To be honest, my doctor just told me you need to pick one of these agencies. Here's a list. I think he gave us 3. You guys, Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions was the top one. So I looked into it. So I didn't know anything. I was naive to the fresh versus frozen. And honestly, I didn't even know about frozen. So I didn't even look into that because that wasn't what I was told. I trusted my doctor and that's what I went with. But now knowing what I know, I 100% would go fresh. And if, I did my due diligence back then when I was going through this, absolutely go with fresh, because you're better getting, on average 6 embryos, normal embryos, compared to they can only guarantee fresh or frozen bakes can only guarantee 1 embryo. So, and if that, so it's just, that's scary. So I'm so glad and thankful that our doctors led us to this route and to you guys, because it was a success for us. And we were able to have, multiple children and have that option, because some people don't have that option if they go frozen. So.
I echo the same. We 10 years ago, we knew for sure a couple of things, and that's that we didn't want it to be totally anonymous. And kind of the guiding thing for me was I didn't want to make any decisions that would foreclose opportunities for knowledge or choice of our future children. You know, they were going to grow up to be people. They're not just a product of our decisions. They're, they may not care to have any information, but I didn't want to make decisions that would make that harder if they did want information or to meet the donor. And back then, it's fine to say back then, but it was 10 years ago, that really limited our options. It foreclosed, going with the egg donors that were associated with the fertility clinics. I couldn't find a single fertility clinic with their own egg donor program that would allow semi-anonymous, any kind of, contact whatsoever with the egg donor. So that immediately sent us to independent egg donor agencies. And we had gotten a list from somebody, I don't even remember who now, of several agencies, and went to one. And it was a real fight, even with that agency. They initially advertised and told us that they would allow a semi-open egg donor relationship, but that didn't go well. That wasn't really, it was a terrible, terrible experience. But one thing we had done in that process is hired our own attorney who specializes in surrogacy agreements and egg donor agreements. And even though no one advised us to do this, no one required us to have a directed agreement with the donor. We hired a lawyer who did one for us, and there were lots of red flags. She gently, sort of pointed out that, but she's the one that highly recommended Egg Donor Solutions. And so when the first agency really that relationship fell apart, we turned to Egg Donor Solutions, and it was so refreshing. Like, I clearly remember we had really been through the ringer at that point. And it was just, of course, we can facilitate that. Here's, an easy way to find which donors are open to that, and from the time that we called Egg Donor Solutions, I think that was like in December, we had a match and had talked to the donor within a week or two, and immediately did the IVF process and did the retrieval like 2 months to the day later.
Wow.
It
So
was
fast.
it was just we really needed a break, and at that point, and it was just a wonderful experience. Like, I felt like guidance and experience and just empathy the whole way through.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what makes this process so unique, at least for our agency, is you have that guidance and process the whole way through. You have a coordinator who's answering all of your questions and taking you step by step. When you have been through the ringer, and have gone through all of those steps before you've even gotten here. I mean, you had 1,000 journeys before you're even getting to this one. So yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing. So you get you get to egg donation, and now you're kind of being thrown this database, right? Or a big book in Hillary's case, at first, or things like that. And I mean, like, I know just our agency alone has like over 450 donors. I mean, how did you navigate that with your partner? I mean, it's such an out of control. Like, you feel like you're so out of control, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need for you to make this very large decision. Just one more decision, that you've already been making.
I little different. I had Googled, and that's how I found Egg Donor Solutions.
Yeah.
And then I started looking and looking and looking. And then when I found the donor, our donor, I'm like, I love how her eyes smile when she's smiling, because she looked just effervescent. So I went up and I told my husband, here's our donor. Or what? Yeah, well, I'm going to go. Here's our donor. Do you like your profile? He's like, yeah, I don't know what's happening. So when we So when we went to the fertility clinic and we met our coordinator, after she had her spiel, I'm like, here, do you work with this? Absolutely. This is our number one agency to work with. So I didn't have a lot, like any difficulty at all. I can't even imagine what that must have been like, Carrie, to go through. And like, it's like always a fight. For me, it was just so simple because you guys literally took my hand and walked me completely through A to Z. I said I didn't want it to be anonymous. You set me up with a lawyer. We fixed it up so that we were able to find her. It was just such a great experience.
I
So like
love
when
that.
so when I talk to people about it, I'm always like, I can't imagine an agency not being like you, like Egg Donor Solutions. I can't imagine it being like a fight or, or anything like that. It was such a great experience. And my
It shouldn't be a
husband,
fight. It shouldn't be.
no, and my husband thinks our kids are pretty cool, so I guess he was on board with the donor.
Good job. Good job. You're just making decisions, Jennifer. You're just getting
Hey, I'm old and I don't have a lot of time.
there.
I was gonna say my experience was a little different than Jennifer's, where when we first opened this avenue of egg donors, coming home from the doctor, we called Egg Donor Solutions, and that's why we went with them, because we got a phone call right back. I mean, immediately. They were on top of it, just navigating, helping us understand what the process was like up front, being transparent with the fees. I mean, we kind of knew everything up front. And then the matching team, helped us match and just kind of gave us some advice like, hey, if you want your donor to look like you, maybe, list a few characteristics that you want and filter it that way. So that's what my husband and I just, after, months of talking about it, yes, I want her to look a little bit like me if we can. If it's just one glimpse like me, that would be great. And so when our coordinator talked to us about it, she mentioned this, and I love it. It's the best advice I've ever got. She said, you and your husband look at it separately in a different room, different day, whatever it may be, and then pick your top 5. Don't tell each other, come back together, and you guys communicate and see if you have any of the similar ones as your top 5. I mean, lo and behold, my husband and I had number 1, the exact same girl. Like, out of the 400 that were, it was so amazing. And I'm sure that's not going to happen to everyone, going through this process, but we were so fortunate and blessed to it was just easy. And so we both kind of knew that's who we wanted to go with. That was our aha moment. Yep, she's our girl. Well, then we got told she was matched. She was already up there at, number 5, and so we didn't know if we were going to get her. And so it was kind of like we were on this high of, oh my God, we found our donor. And then we were told she wasn't available. And so then it was like that waiting game again. It's like one more day is like an eternity when you're at this point. You're just like, oh my gosh. And then to tell you have to wait months, you're like, oh, I can't do anymore. I cannot wait another second. And then the next week, something happened with those other intended parents, and they called us and said, you're up. And it was a blessing from God. We had prayed about it, and so we knew it was she was our girl. So it was a fun way of looking at the database. As something is so overwhelming and time consuming, it was just a fun way for us both to be able to dive into this together. Because it's just as important, for a woman as, your spouse, whoever you're with, to have that same opportunity to look and have that same choice. So I thought that was really important.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that.
I feel bad for my husband. And I'm like, here you go, there she is.
No, you shouldn't feel bad. You've got 2 gorgeous babies. I think you're doing great. What were maybe, yes, exactly. What were maybe some of the surprising things that you encountered just when you were learning about the donation process? Either was the idea of like, oh, well, do they need to be in my same state, or do they need to, just things like that? What were maybe some of the surprising things that you remember encountering just as you were going through this?
I think for me, one of the things was, and it kind of goes back to what Carrie said, is that it's not at the time, at least at the time, it was not as easy to do a non-anonymous donor agreement as you might think. I thought, that is, just would be the best way to go. We didn't go with my doctor's in-house fertility clinic because they didn't offer that option. Same reason we didn't go with, we felt fresh was better anyway, but we wouldn't even consider frozen because there wasn't an opportunity to even have an arrangement where you could have contact with the donor, have a way to contact in the future. So at the time, that was one of the surprising things for me. I think that's certainly gotten better, thankfully. And then the other thing, just going through the whole process of choosing a donor, it wasn't so easy for me. I went into it kind of like Carrie. I just expected, I knew we were going to have visible conceiving, right? Because of my medical history, that was not going to be a surprise. But I never thought that IVF with my own eggs would work. And so when it didn't, that wasn't easy. And so then when we went through the process of choosing a donor, I felt like, I always say this, and it sounds so silly, but it's exactly how I felt at the time. I felt like I had to choose another woman to have a baby with my husband. I felt like I had to replace myself in the process, at least genetically. And so I was dead set on finding a redheaded donor. Well, guess what that does to your pool of potential donors?
Sure.
Because I think it's only 2 or 3% of the population has red hair in the world. So you look at, a database of donors, and the options become much more limited. And so as I worked through that, it just took some time to realize I don't have to find someone to replace me. I'm going to be the mom. And once I kind of got through that, my husband and I went about it, Rachel, the same way that you and your husband did it. We must have had the same advice. It's like we went with the same agency or something.
Yeah.
We talked about what are our top priorities, right? We want because of my family health history, and we want to have had cancer, in their family history.
Sure.
At all. Someone who was goal oriented, healthy, educated, all of that was important. And then feeling like we wanted to choose someone who felt like we're doing it for the right reasons, and then just based on the profile, we would, get a sense of who she was in the week. So that was kind of once we narrowed down what our top criteria was, we separately looked at donors and then came back together. We didn't have all the same ones in common, but we had quite a few, and our donor was top of the list for both of us. And
yeah, I love that. So as not only are you guys obviously navigating this with each other, you now have all of these other people in your life who are, kind of your family, your friends, and everybody. How did you explain this process to them? And maybe how do you continue to explain, this process if you even feel the need to?
I find that I try to be as open about it as possible and just kind of matter of fact. If I'm in a discussion and with other moms or friends or whatever, I'll just kind of mention, and Zoe and Cooper, they're egg donation babies. We had to go through that process, and it's people are always very surprised. I still think it's pretty uncommon. There are very few other moms that I've run into who have gone through this process. I mean, IVF is pretty common now, especially, I was a bit of an older mom. I was almost 40 when I had the twins. So I think that's more common, and people, are accustomed to that and familiar with it, even if they don't really know how it works.
Sure.
But egg donation, IVF, is still something people are very unfamiliar with. And so I I think the way that I intentionally am how I talk about it is it's just how we made our family. Like, this is their egg donation babies, and I also really like that I get to tell them that, you know, we've become good friends with other parents, with Hillary and Jared, and our kids have met their daughter, and they've gone to camp together, and we've gone on vacations together, and that, you know, we know who the donor is. And funny story, one of my dearest friends here in Austin, turns out that my friend Dee Dee, her bestie in high school was our egg donor's mother.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that wild?
That's
That's a small
insane.
world. 6 years
Yeah,
of separation.
my friend Dee Dee,
Yeah.
she is like, Shinny was the funniest person I've ever known in my whole life. But just kind of
Oh
track
my
for
gosh.
but anyway, it's I think, you know, that's been a surprising thing. And, you know, just having to, I think it's real important for us to tell our story, and that to make it a you know, I don't want our kids to feel different or other, or you know, and we've always been very
Yeah.
matter of fact with them. It's just, you know, I think they're starting to get it now. We've been telling them this story since they were babies, but they're like, yeah, whatever. I've shown them pictures of the egg donor, but I think just you know, the more that we tell our stories, and, you know, tell the stories about the process and the children, that just I hope we get to a point where people, you know, see and understand this process same way that they see, you know, IVF. It's, you know, it's just another way to make a family.
I think it's like with 23andMe and all of these, they're gonna find out.
There's no
So,
anonymity.
and
Yeah.
in our case, my husband and I decided that we were going to be completely honest. My son Bennett is 5, and he's got autism, so he doesn't really understand. But I've been talking to him like since he was a baby about the donor,
Yeah.
and I just feel like I don't want him to grow up thinking there's something wrong with how he was conceived. And I figure if you keep it a secret, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, there's many different ways to have families. Like, I don't want him to ever feel like, you know, my parents didn't tell me because they were ashamed that's how they had to have me.
It's
Yes.
just
I
part of their
love that.
story.
Yeah.
And
And I think it's a pretty cool story, you know?
science is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's a whole team of doctors and
Yep.
the egg donor agency and the donor. Like,
You
it took a
know?
whole team, you know, to intentionally get here. Have you guys ever heard the song "The Mother" by Brandy Carlisle?
No, but I'm going to have to now.
Yes,
I'm like,
because of
I
you.
know
And
what
it
it
is
is.
one of my
So-
favorites.
And it's that is a song that, you know, speaks to me as an egg donor mom, as a mom, you know, recipient mom. Listen to it. There's a line sort of towards the end about how, you know, you are not an accident, you know, where no one thought it through. The world's taken us and made us mean to fight for you. So the whole thing, like, that's, I cry every time I hear it, but it really reminds
I
me.
just start crying.
I know, right?
But
Oh,
very
yeah.
much.
I'm in my feels. Oh my gosh, my coffee
I
must be a
know.
little salty. Oh my gosh.
there's such blessings, you know, and I'm going to tell him someday, we want to do so much.
Yeah.
You know, we really
Yeah.
want, like, it doesn't matter how you're here. You know, I never want my kids to feel like, you know, like some older parent, like older generations, like grandma, like they'd be like, what are you talking about? That's not like your baby. I've had someone tell me that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, like, how does it feel? Like, is it like, you know, your husband cheated? Like, there's a lot of ignorance behind the whole thing. Not my
Yeah.
family, but like an old, like a lady I used to work with.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that though? Like, how do you, I mean, when people
Ignorance?
say, yes.
Because people are ignorant.
No,
like,
but how do you handle that? I mean, your response is absolute perfection.
I-
Yeah.
You can probably tell I don't have much of a filter.
Mhm.
Probably, right? So,
You're in
like,
good company. You're doing just
yeah,
fine.
so when people say stupid things like that, especially, no one comes after my kids.
Yeah. Oh, Mama
No,
Bear.
I don't care if you're 12, 95, like, you will be put in your place.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
and I think these kids are like some of the best kids around because they're so wanted.
Yes. I mean, you jumped
No.
through 1,000 hoops and had, I mean, a team to make them become earth signs. So yeah, it's big stuff. That is such big stuff. What would you, how, I mean, and Carrie, you kind of talked about it a little bit. You all, you're just early and often with how you're talking to your kids about their story. How has it changed from, when they were little and it's just kind of, maybe just explaining the science of it a little bit to now that they're a little older? And maybe Carrie, how do you navigate maybe some of Willow's questions of, explaining some of that?
It's interesting, because I have a 13-year-old and then two 8-year-olds, and IVF was always a part of Willow's story. So it was a while before I think it clicked with her that not all babies are made in a lab. Because the story that we always told her is, we went to the doctor and, it was all very scientific. So, when she was taking health classes in middle school, I think she got sort of the birds and bees, differently than how we had already always explained how she came to be. So that was kind of a funny quirk. It's, it's interesting. They don't have as many questions as I would expect them to have. Like, I feel like they're like, yeah, we know.
Sure.
And I think because we've always just talked about it, and I have to remind them, with Corinne, I was like, remember, Corinne's like your sister, like you have the same egg donor, and they're like, yeah, we know. It's not. I mean, I think that's a good thing. It's not. I don't think that they are wondering about where they came from and what does this mean. It's it hasn't really occurred to them that it's something that they need to know more about. I think they wish that I would talk less about it.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's for lack of a better phrase, like not a big deal, if you will.
It's not a big deal at all. Yeah.
I think that really comes from telling them early, right? Because when kids are little, they're just it's matter of fact. And if you can take the emotion out of it and just say, sometimes parents need help to have a baby, and and we did, and this is who helped us, and this is how you came into the world, and it's really it's really special, and we're a family. There's a lot of good books now that can help, because it's hard to for at least personally, like it seems like such a big deal, like, oh, I gotta explain this huge thing to my child. How do I do that? But it's but to a kid, it's just simple and it's matter of fact. And we started with Corinne when she was probably about between a year and 2 years, just reading books. And you ask, like, how has that how has that conversation, or how has that changed over time, the way we explain it and talk about it. And it kind of started like as she got older, she would start asking me to replace the names in the book with my name and my husband's name and our donor's name. And so she was like personalizing that story for herself. And then
I love that.
Yeah, and we would try to make not talk about all the time, although sometimes I feel like I kind of get like, I know, like probably wish I would talk about it, because I'm like, just trying to look for opportunities to make the connection for her as she's got older. So I'll say you have the same color eyes as our donor, and she just trying to make those connections. And then as she got a little bit older, I would say around 5 or 6, she started asking more direct questions, like, do you think I'm good at this, do you think our donor is good at that? And so we have had a way. I've been in touch with our donor over the years, just email and text. But as Spring got older and started asking more direct questions, and they weren't very often, but sometimes she would just she would just ask really direct questions and want more information. And so I said, what does she look like for all of us? So we did show her. So we have pictures, and so we showed her pictures, and I have a way to contact her. So if you have questions that we didn't know the answer to, I can try to find that out. If you want to meet her when you're older, we can, we can talk about it. We can, try to see if she's interested. But, and then I thought, but she's asking these questions now at like 5, 6. What if she doesn't want to wait? What if she's going to ask to meet her when she's 10 or 12 or 15 or whatever? So I reached out to our donor, and we actually met up. She lives in Houston. We met up in Houston a couple of years ago, and we started talking. I'm going to try not to cry. She's wonderful. By the way, and I asked her if she would be open to meeting Corinne at some point, and she said, and she hesitated, and I thought, oh no, I've crossed the line, because there says, if you're like, you don't want to cross the line too much, because you want to leave that door open. But her hesitation was because because of Corinne. She was like, well, yes, I'm open to anything, but does she want to meet me? So her concern was only for Corinne. And then and then at one point, when Corinne was about 6 or 7, she was like, we were talking about her dinner. She said, yeah, I want to meet her. And so she got to meet her last year. And
oh wow, what was that like?
It was great.
Salty coffee.
Yes. And just, I thought, like, before we went and met her, I thought, would it be hard to see, because she has a connection with her. She has a connection with my daughter that I don't. So, like, is that going to be hard to see that interaction? And it just wasn't. I mean, like, Corinne takes a little bit to warm up to people. So she was kind of not standoff. She's a little bit standoffish. At first, just not standoffish, but reserved a little bit.
Sure.
And
as with any kid meeting a new grown up.
But our donor, she took Corinne's lead, and she just kind of like talked to her, after questions, and we went to lunch, and then we went back to our hotel where we were staying. And the other thing, she got her daughter too, her 3-year-old, so Corinne's other half sister, and the fact that she allowed us to like meet her daughter too was just so special. And by the time that we got back to that hotel, they were just interacting and laughing, and they just had like a natural affinity and affection for one another. And I have this picture of them, like, as we were leaving, and Corinne went up to her on her own and gave her a hug, and our donor said to her, "Thank you for being so sweet to my daughter."
Oh gosh! Oh my
God! I mean, technically, Corinne is her biological daughter, right? But she doesn't see her that way. I think she obviously has a natural affection for her. Anyway,
my gosh! I love
I'm so glad we did it. It couldn't have gone better.
I thought Shira like running down my lips, heavenly days. Oh my gosh, Truly, that's so beautiful, and just again the openness and it's I think it's so funny that Corinne refers to her as our donor. Like I just love those words, and because I mean words like that are important, and my daughter, and and thank you for being kind to my like that's so amazing that you were so open to that, and I just love that you even just have the ability to have that type of connection. And I mean it's their story, and it makes it's a family, and however it came to be. I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So what would you guys say, just add to any potential person who is looking into egg donation as the way to form their family, and to maybe any woman who's thinking about becoming an egg donor? What advice would you give, or little things that you would say?
I don't mean this to be such a blatant ad, but I do feel strongly that I wish that our first stop had been with Egg Donor Solutions, because I feel like that's where we finally wasn't hard.
I love that. Yeah.
Everything had been so hard before that. And, if I have had a friend or two that's, where they are, and that's what I've encouraged them to do, from our experience, and that's definitely what I would encourage people to do. I think that I would also encourage them to seek out other, these podcasts, and when I would send all of this kind of stuff, because I didn't know anybody who had ever gone through this process. I didn't have anyone to ask. We're really just navigating this blindly
Sure.
10 years ago. So I think, that's the best advice I can give. And the other advice I would say is everything is going to be exactly how it should be. You're going to get the children that are yours.
I love that.
I would agree, and I think also just trusting this system and this route that led you to this, because like Carrie said, these are your baby. No matter how they came to be, they are your babies 100%, and it's so hard for intended mothers or fathers or whoever it may be, to say, how do you do this? Like, how do I know that this is okay and to do this? And like Carrie said, yeah, I think you need people. You need a tribe, to help you through this. And so to be open, and if you don't have family that understand or friends that understand, then go to and seek out, on Facebook or listen to podcasts. There's so many avenues now. And I wish I had more of that. I wish I would have seeked out more. I think it would have helped navigate me to grieve in the way I needed to more, and understand the process better, and just help me navigate it. And so I wish I would have done that more and just seeked out to more people, because you are by yourself. I didn't know anyone. I had lots of family, lots of friends that supported and guided me, but they didn't know, So yeah, I mean, yeah, you need a tribe, whoever it may be, just to help you through this.
No, absolutely. And Hillary has been such an important part, honestly, of my journey. I'm gonna cry.
Oh, shout out Hillary. Me too.
Yeah.
I love you, girl.
I just
you.
want I just want to thank you for reaching out when my babies were in the hospital, for like just helping me. And when I was trying to find a donor, like giving me advice and how to navigate it. Wait, I'm so grateful to you, because I really feel like you helped me find her. And when hearing your story, I really hope someday, sorry, that becomes my story too for my kids. My son Bennett couldn't care less. Like, I've tried to say, he doesn't ask questions. Like, I don't hammer it down. But hearing how, when you met your donor, how important it is for your daughter. It just thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Because it is a lonely journey. Like, I don't know anyone besides really now you guys.
Yeah. That is.
I have a bit of practical advice for someone. That
please.
also, well, it is to insist on registration with the
DSR.
donor sibling registry. That was something that we insisted on with the donor, and I'm glad that exists. And it's how Hillary and I found each other. Was through the egg donor registry. So that has been a real source of opportunity. I posted on there and sent the donor, an email of just, utter gratitude after the twins were born. And she's on there, but she doesn't really, get on there too much. But it was a really nice, lovely, wonderful gift that Hillary found us on there. And that's how we connected, and then, have met in real life. So,
and you guys should all go listen to their episode where we talk more about that. So yeah.
Registry, I definitely recommend doing that.
That's
how I find my
absolutely.
donor.
See,
through our contract, it was stated that she would have to sign up but I couldn't wait. So Hillary suggested just to reach out to Egg Donor Solutions to see if they would reach out to her, to move it along. And so she finally registered. So I found the donor through donor sibling registry, but no one else has gone through. But I check often. I'm so glad this even exists. I think that it should be mandatory. If you're going to
things like that
donate, you
are
should be
big.
able to know that someday it's not going to maybe be anonymous, and that DSR, you have to register. For the sake of your kids.
Yeah. What about you, Hillary?
All of the things that everybody said. And just, like Sherry said, like Jennifer said, everybody, it's just, and Rachel, this is a lonely process. And so one piece of advice, because people just don't talk about it openly. So I'm so glad that we're doing this, and that there's a community now of parents who are willing to be open about it, because honestly, it's the parents that are going to drive the change, and that are going to drive, I just think, more best practices and things that are in the best interest of our kids. So one, I would encourage, find your people, right? Find your community, because even once you have a child, you're raising a donor conceived child. That comes with another layer of things that you have to think about. It's not something that you have to do all the time and talk ad nauseum about, but it is something that I feel like our kids have a right to know, have a right to have information. And you don't want them to find out from a DNA test one day, right? I mean, you just won't. And if we can do a DNA test, if you can buy a DNA test off the shelves at Walmart or on Amazon now, just think about what it's going to be like when our kids are 15, 18, 20.
Sure.
How easy is it going to be to find your to find your genetic relatives then. So I would encourage, find your community of parents, but also be open and honest with your children. And then, but I know that it's not an easy process for everybody. And one of the, I interviewed a couple years ago. So I do some of the blog. I do some of the blog writing for Egg Donor Solutions. And one couple that I interviewed, it was the husband who said, this is not, like, the way that we had our child is not second choice. It's not second best. And just because this wasn't how you planned to have your family, you absolutely can have a family this way, and it will be the family that you're meant to have. It will be the children that you're meant to have, and you are going to love those children just like your own, because they are your own.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You guys, just all of the wisdom and the mic dropping that's happening today. Like, oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. Okay. My final question, and this is the fine one. For anyone who knows me, they know that I have a very codependent relationship with. And so at the time of this recording, I may be 3 cups deep. Don't worry about it. But what filled your cup this morning? Literally or figuratively, what filled your cup?
Mine was just I've never talked to any mamas before. This is my first time. Yeah.
Yay!
I know.
You got Rachel.
I know. So I'm so excited. Thank y'all so much. It helps. You feel like you're okay and you're in the thick of things and you're now a mom and all that, but it helps to just hear stories and how to navigate. My children are little still, so I don't know how I'm going to navigate telling them. And so just hearing, the future and what I can do and how to guide them, it helps. So thank you. It helped fill my heart today. Thank y'all.
I think it's great that we all come together. That's the thing. Like, even now, like, I live in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I wish, like, that Hillary was closer, even, like, to go grab a coffee or something. Like, I would.
We're going to make it happen one day.
I know.
We're going to make it happen one day.
I'm coming to Texas.
There you go.
I really want to. I think it's great that Egg Donor Solutions can facilitate maybe those relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that other mothers can find each other. because it's so important. Because you could bounce ideas off other moms, get suggestions. You could think of things a little differently that maybe, I just think so. You guys filled my cup this morning too.
Oh, I love that.
Nice good cry in the morning.
But
Really
we
make
can
it up.
start the day, right?
There you go.
Well, same for me too. It's just all, it's just so special, I think, to connect in this way on this day. It's so wonderful to see Carrie and to see Jennifer. And Jennifer, I'm so happy for you, for your family, and for Betta and for Atticus. I'm so glad Atticus is doing well.
He's up for another surgery.
It just is so he is.
Oh, he's so cute. He's so
He's
sweet.
precious. He's precious.
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to thank you both. I'm sorry, Hillary, for interrupting. Before I totally forget, old mom brain. Emma, I really want to thank Egg Donor Solutions for sending, when Atticus was in the NICU, sending gifts to Bennett.
Oh, yeah.
And to us in a really beautiful card. You showed me kindness. That's some of the people closest to me couldn't bother to do.
I'm so glad you have been loved and cared for. And I mean, I think yes, it's so scientific and you're checking boxes and you're trying to, it's a means to an end, but it's people. It's people.
Yeah, and Egg Donor Solutions doesn't make it feel scientific. That's what I feel like part of a family, like the Egg Donor Solutions family.
You are part of the family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very well
Thank you.
cared for. So this has been so wonderful this morning, and it's morning time. We had just gotten the kids to school, and I come back to get ready for this, and mornings are hectic. We have a grumpy 13-year-old who does not do mornings, and then 2 kids lots of yelling about where's your shoes and have you brushed your teeth, and I already have to brush your teeth.
Yes.
And so just the thick of parenting 3 children in the morning, sometimes I can forget in the day-to-day how grateful I am to be their mom and to get to have these hectic, frustrating mornings with my children. So I really appreciate the resetting of and the remembrance of just how grateful I am to this community and to Egg Donor Solutions, that I have children to remind to go brush their teeth.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and for the love, just put your
40
shoes
times.
on.
Yes.
At least.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, thank you so much for your vulnerability, all of your wisdom and advice, and for just continuing to champion the education that is a donation. I mean, infertility in general has been such a taboo topic for so long, and the more we're able to do things like that, it's just so helpful for anyone who's trying to figure out the best way to build their family. So I so appreciate you all giving your time in the midst of your hectic mornings, and again, just thank you so much. So I will let you guys get back to your days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so nice meeting everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Me, You, and Who podcast. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways to stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to your YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. For more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners, be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Egg Donor and at Surrogate Solutions. As a friendly reminder, the podcast is made possible by Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions. If you're interested in creating a happy family, visit www.createahappyfamily.com to learn more information. Again, thank you for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and join us next time as we share journeys of creating happy families.